Welcome back. Today, we're diving straight into the fascinating and honestly sometimes totally bizarre world of primitive monies. We're going to uncover the underlying secret of what actually makes something function as a store of value. And spoiler alert, it's all about the absolute critical importance of scarcity. For most of human history, money looked vastly different from the fiat systems we're used to today. It evolved organically through human choice and trade, long before governments or central banks just stepped in and declared what had value. So let me ask you a slightly ridiculous question. Would you accept a giant rock as payment for a house? Seriously, imagine closing on a piece of real estate and instead of a quick wire transfer, a dump truck just drops a massive, unmovable boulder right on your front lawn. It sounds completely absurd to us today, right? But historically, for a very specific society, this wasn't absurd at all. Actually, it was the absolute height of high-value trade. For the people of Yap Island in Micronesia, this was completely normal. Meet the rye stones. Now, we're not talking about little pebbles you can just toss in your pocket. These were enormous, circular limestone discs. Some of them were so incredibly massive that they literally weighed several metric tons. But here's the kicker. Here's what actually made them money. Limestone was not naturally available on Yap Island. To get one of these bad boys, people had to organize fleets of boats, travel to entirely different islands, carve these massive stones out by hand, and then transport them all the way back across the open ocean. Producing and moving them required an extreme, almost unimaginable amount of physical effort, time, and resources. So why go through all that trouble for a rock? Well, it all comes down to a core economic concept, salability. In really simple terms, salability just asks, how easily can something be exchanged for something else? If you own something that's super valuable to you, but literally nobody else wants to buy it or trade for it, well, it makes terrible money. Good money needs to be widely accepted. It has to be highly saleable. But salability isn't just one monolithic thing. It actually operates across three distinct dimensions. First up, across time. Say you get paid in fresh fruit. Sure, it's valuable today, but it's going to rot by next month. Good money absolutely must endure over time. Second, across space. If you need to move your wealth to another city, you obviously can't drag a mountain with you. It needs to be portable. And third, across scale. If you want to buy a massive house, you need a way to transfer a large amount of value, but if you just want a quick cup of coffee, you need smaller units. So your money has to be divisible. So putting that all together, a good monetary object requires a very specific combo of traits. It's got to be durable, portable, divisible, recognizable, and acceptable. But the ultimate test of money, the real deal breaker, scarcity, and specifically its resistance to easy supply expansion. Listen, mere rarity just isn't enough. A rare flower might be scarce, but if it dies in 2 days, it's not durable, so it's useless as money. True money requires an ironclad difficulty in creating more of it. Section 1. The easy money trap and broken scarcity rules. So, what actually happens to a society when that vital rule of scarcity is completely broken? Let's look at a pretty fascinating historical tragedy. For a very long time in parts of West Africa, glass beads were highly trusted and widely used as money. And why is that? Because producing glass beads locally was incredibly difficult. That immense difficulty meant they were scarce. And because they were scarce, durable, and highly portable, they functioned wonderfully as a medium of exchange. People inherently trusted that their wealth stored in these beads would hold its value over time. But then, literally, everything changed. European glassmaking technology was suddenly introduced to the region. This advanced tech meant that massive quantities of identical, or at least very similar, glass beads could suddenly be manufactured cheaply and rapidly. The market was completely flooded. What was once deeply hard to produce became remarkably easy to produce. And as that supply absolutely exploded, the beads went from being reliably scarce to totally abundant, and their monetary value was completely, permanently destroyed. This highlights the profound difference between what we call hard money and easy money, and it's all about supply growth. With hard money A, the supply grows very, very slowly, making it highly resistant to inflation. But with easy money B, like our glass beads, new supply grows rapidly. If you hold your life savings in an easy money, your purchasing power is constantly being diluted by anyone who can just easily print or manufacture more of it. Economists actually measure this resistance to inflation using a metric called stock to flow. The stock is simply the total amount of a given asset that already exists in the world right now. The flow is the amount of new supply being created over a given period, let's say a year. So imagine there are 1,000 units of something in existence. If only 10 new units can be produced a year, it has a high stock-to-flow ratio. That's hard money. But if 500 new units can be produced a year, the supply is inflating massively. It becomes easy money. And trust me, it will rapidly fail as a store of value.
Section 2, the modern rhinestone, where ancient meets digital.
Okay, now that we've got a handle on stock to flow, let's circle right back to those massive rocks on Yap Island, because I actually held back the most mind-bending fact about the rhinestones earlier. We established that they were incredibly heavy, some weighing literally tons, right? Because they were so massive, when someone used a rhinestone to make a large purchase, they didn't actually move the stone. It was physically impossible to easily transport it. Instead, the physical object stayed exactly where it was. What moved was the ownership, entirely within the shared memory of the community. Everyone in the village simply mentally updated their ledger. They just knew, okay, that giant stone on the hill now belongs to the fisherman, not the farmer. And guys, this is exactly where the ancient world directly collides with the digital world. The rhinestone system operates on a stunningly similar conceptual framework to modern Bitcoin. Think about it. With ancient rhinestones, you had a shared community ledger keeping track of ownership, and it relied on extreme physical effort to produce new stones, giving it that vital scarcity. With Bitcoin, you have a digital, decentralized ledger keeping track of ownership, and it relies on extreme computational effort, what we call proof of work, to produce new Bitcoins, giving it mathematical scarcity. In both of these systems, the money itself doesn't physically travel anywhere. The ledger simply updates. It's brilliant.
So what's the big takeaway here? Well, it's that technology has this fascinating dual nature when it comes to money. As we saw with the tragedy of the glass beads, it can utterly destroy monetary scarcity by making things way too easy to produce. But as we see with Bitcoin's cryptography and proof-of-work protocol, technology can also be used to rigidly, mathematically enforce scarcity in the digital realm. The entire history of primitive money is basically a story of human beings experimenting, just trying to find a medium of exchange that can't be easily inflated away by someone else. Which leaves us with this final, incredibly powerful question. Can we create money that is genuinely difficult to inflate, super easy to transfer, and universally trusted by its users? Humanity has spent thousands of years searching for this perfect money, evolving from shells to beads to giant stones and eventually to metals. And how those metals, specifically gold, completely changed the world